Inspirational Perspective with Linal Harris on 1690, The Talk of Chicago.
If you want to be about it, come on, let's talk about it. Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibility. Find your power, passion, and your purpose. You know it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams. That's right now. Inspirational perspective. Open your mind to a better life. It's time to live. Let's find your purpose now. Inspirational perspective. Let's slay your goals, let your greatness flow with inspirational perspective.
Good morning, Chicago. You're listening to Inspirational Perspective. I'm your host, Linal Harris, your very own life coach, right here on WVON 1690 AM, The Talk of Chicago. Inspirational Perspective on your radio is all about murdering mediocrity and living the best life possible. So as I ask you every Sunday morning, are you living the best life possible? And this is the place to be to explore that possibility. Well, good Sunday morning, January 24th, 2021. And time just keeps moving right along. Every time we're blessed to wake up and see a brand new day is a good day. And another experience and another opportunity to fully step into possibility. I truly believe that. Another opportunity to truly step into possibility. Well, I'm excited about today's topic, today's show. And the topic is how to avoid regret. How to avoid regret. And, you know, more than anything, you know, my life's purpose, when I talk about purpose, and even when I open the show, one of the things I talk about is the best life, living the best life possible. And I'm sure at some point new listeners and others are asking themselves, well, what does that really mean? Like, to live the best life possible. What does that really mean? Well, I want to ask you a question first. How often do you slow down and just get present, fully present to the gift of life? Like the gift of this experience, whatever it is. You know, some say the gift of consciousness, the gift of the spirit receiving a physical body. I mean, the list goes on in terms of how we talk about the experience of life. But when was the last time? Like you really slowed down and you got fully present to it, the gift? And, you know, one of the things about the times we live in, we move so quickly that I believe the things that become significant, the things that we put our major focus on, turns out they're not the things that we should really be focused on at all. So I'll tell you, when I think about my life and what it means to be alive, what it means to live a life well lived, I often think long term, right? Because in the context of the present moment, it's very difficult to think about your life or think about life overall and what should be, what shouldn't be, and how the decisions I make in this present moment impact my life. It's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. But when I think about my life long term, and I don't know how long I'll live, but you know, what I would like, and I think what many of us would like is to live a long, healthy life. And then when death comes, to be in a place where we can, in many ways, gladly and proudly accept it. And so I think about that moment of acceptance, right? Because like if you're going to talk about life, you got to talk about death. And I know it's early, we just got in, just stick with me here. And life has an experience, but when you listen to the reports of other people, my wife is currently reading a book, The 5 Top Regrets of the Dying. One of the things she's sharing with me in the book is about this woman who actually sits with people who are on their deathbed, and she documents that journey. And so when we're in that space where we know death is at our door, what is that experience like? What will that experience be like? And, you know, you got to start asking yourself, will it be a slow experience where there's anguish and regret and really fully consumed, not with the last breaths of life, but fully consumed with the anguish of mistakes made? Or will it be a death that has me surrounded by love and thoughts of passion-filled, purposeful, well-lived life? Like, which one will it be? And by the way, there's one guarantee. All of us are headed in that direction. All of us. So what will it be? So anyway, my wife is telling me about this book, right? And again, the book is by Bronnie Ware, The 5 Top Regrets of the Dying. And she's talking about regret as an experience, right? Because, you know, when you think about regret, and let's kind of break regret down. Like, regret defined is a deep feeling of sadness, repentance, or disappointment over something that has happened or been done. All right, so if I have regret, that means that at some point I made a decision. I took an action, like I did this thing, right? I took an action that now, in hindsight, I'm like, why did I do that? And so then we got to ask ourselves, well, why do people do the things that they do? And what is guiding me in my life? Like, how am I being guided in my life to ensure that in the present moment when I'm making decision, those decisions don't turn into lifelong regrets? And here's the sad thing, like many people are living with lifelong regrets, and they haven't done anything to actually curb their decision-making process. And so if that's you, this show is definitely for you. But there are others who maybe you haven't made those type of decisions where you have lifelong regret, maybe some mistakes, but you don't want to live a life like that. This show is for you. So in Bronnie Ware's book, she talks about the 5 top regrets, and here they are. I just want to lay them out real quick, because I was asking my wife, I'm like, all right, then what are the top 5 regrets of the dying? What are the regrets? So she begins to read them out to me, and I wrote this list down. Number 1, courage to live a life true to oneself versus what others expect. That's number 1. Now, let's just sit with that for a moment. Like the courage for someone to live their life true to themselves. So what does that mean then? True to their passions, true to their purpose, true to what makes them come alive, like the courage to live life that way, rather than what others expect. That's number one. So already, I'm like, okay, this is a good list. This is a good list. Number two, allowing life to be consumed by working. And I thought about that one. I said, man, that's just about all of us. Because we live in a culture and we live in a time, in a place where this whole notion of work seems to take the priority. It seems to be the priority in many ways. And so number two, working too much. Number three, the lack of courage to fully express oneself. And then I began thinking about that. I'm like, man, when they say the lack of courage to fully express oneself, I wonder if they mean like the lack of courage to just say what needs to be said. But then I started thinking about it more deeply, and I'm like, no, I imagine that the author is saying the lack of courage to fully express oneself in life. Like fully express their passions, fully express their purpose, fully express what makes them come alive. These are the regrets. Number four is disconnection from loved ones, those that we love. And number five is making living a happy and fulfilled life the number one priority of life. Making living a happy and fulfilled life the number one priority of life. That's where I want to stick today. Like making living a happy and fulfilled life your number one priority. All right, so then none of us wants to die with regret. I think that's something I can firmly say. Like nobody listening to my voice right now wants to die with more regret than they have in this current moment. And if you don't have many regrets, you don't want to die with deep regret. I think I can speak for all of us. Okay. Those of you watching on Facebook, like, tell me if I'm wrong, tell me if I'm right. But nobody wants to die with regret. So why don't we talk about death and regret? Like, if we don't want to die with regret, why don't we talk about it? Why isn't there a class on living and dying without deep regret? Like, why are the things that are most important to us never talked about, never taught? And why don't we think on an individual level about death and regret? Like, why? Well, I got an answer for you. And here's the reason I believe why. And I'm actually going to use a book I'm currently reading to help make this explanation. But in Robert Greene's new book, The Laws of Human Nature, he tells us in the book in chapter 6 that humans overall are short-sighted. As a matter of fact, chapter 6 is titled The Law of Short-Sightedness. And he goes on to talk about in the book because we're so short-sighted that often we only consume ourselves with the very present moment, the things that are happening right now in our space. And even very important, difficult decisions are not made based on the long term. In the long term, what would be best for us in our life, but it's made in that moment, what would make me feel good? What would make me feel great? What would satisfy, in many ways, my need for instant gratification? I mean, and all we have to do is begin to look at our habits day in and day out when it comes to our health and well-being, how we choose to eat, right? We're not thinking long term. We're not thinking about regret. We're thinking about the present moment. Why? Because humans are short-sighted. As a matter of fact, I have an excerpt from the book that I want to read. And what Robert Greene says, that it is in the animal part of our nature to be most impressed by what we see and hear in the present. The latest news reports, the latest trends, the latest opinions, and the action of the people around us. Whatever seems the most dramatic becomes the thing that we're most impressed or most concerned about. This is what makes you fall for alluring schemes that promise quick results and easy money. This is also what makes you overreact to present circumstances, becoming overly exhilarated and panicky as events turn one direction or the other. Then he goes on to say, learn to measure people by the narrowness or breadth of their vision. Avoid entangling yourself with those who cannot see the consequences of their actions, who are in a continual reactive mode. They will infect you with this energy. Your eyes must be on the larger trends that govern events, on that which is not immediately visible. What is he talking about? The future. Never lose sight of your long-term goals. That's a little special one for the Slayer Goals coaching community. Never lose sight of your long-term goals. And with an elevated perspective, you will have the patience, and clarity to reach almost any objective. Okay. So, humans are short-sighted. And right now, one of the things I want you to think about is just maybe a recent short-sighted decision you made in your own life. And you might chuckle about it. It could be from eating a piece of cake that you said you wouldn't eat. And see, here's the thing. One of the reasons we make continual short-sighted decisions like that we don't believe we will regret, is because we don't see the consequence happen immediately. Boom. I mean, imagine if eating unhealthy led to instantaneous weight gain. Well, we have more healthy eaters. Right? But as human beings, because we're so short-sighted, and it becomes difficult for us, right? It becomes a task for us, especially in a world that is overloading our sensories with the right now, becomes so difficult for us to think long-term. And I'm not just talking about long-term goals. I'm talking about long-term living, all the way through the complete spiritual experience. Because there's something about this life that the present moment holds an allure that is so captivating and so powerful that many of us forget our deep desires for the future. And because we forget our deep desires for the future, we never, ever achieve or create the future we want most. Because we're following what we see in the present moment. Now, somebody might disagree, so I got some examples for you. Because I like to use examples that are completely outside of us, completely outside the context, and I want to show you how down through history, we have executed, even at the highest levels, have executed in short-sighted ways. So here's one example, and Robert Greene actually shares this in the book. He talks about how short-sightedness causes unintended consequences, and he uses the example of Julius Caesar back in 44 BC. So if you're not really down with history like that, so back in ancient Rome, you had a group of men who were loyal to the Republic, and they feared that Julius Caesar was going to make himself a dictator. And due to where they were in that moment where he had taken really supreme power, they thought he was going to try to use that power permanently and establish a monarchy. So what they decided to do was to assassinate him, because as they looked at what was happening, like, think about this, right? This man is about to become a monarch in the republic. We need to save the republic. How do we save the republic? Well, we get rid of him. But it was a short-sighted scheme because they didn't think fully about all of the consequences. And so what ends up happening is they assassinate Julius Caesar. Those of you who know the story know what happens next. Because in the ensuing chaos and the power vacuum that his death created, his great nephew, Octavius, quickly rises to power, assumes power, and permanently ends the republic and establishes exactly what they didn't want, a de facto monarchy. And then after Caesar's death and assassination, when Octavius is on the throne as their dictator, they find out that, in fact, Julius Caesar never intended to keep the power. He intended to return it to the republic. All right, so that's it. That's an example outside of ourselves. Let's bring it more to how we might operate in life. And I love this next example because this is how emotion in the present moment, when we don't have an anchor and when we don't know exactly where we're going to go and we don't have a decision-making process, this is how emotion in the present moment can literally sink our ship. Pun intended. April 1912. Jack Phillips is on a ship. And Jack is basically in the control room. And his job is to be listening for communications from other ships. And so he's sitting there with the headphones on and going through radio frequencies when all of a sudden a radio frequency like just blasts in his ears. And it blasts in his ears so in such a loud way that it made him angry. Because whoever was broadcasting at maximum volume. And so Jack, annoyed, screams back at the person and says, "Why are you broadcasting at maximum volume?" The person on the other end says, "It's important that anyone in this area knows that there are sheets of ice and icebergs all around us at this particular longitude and this particular latitude." Jack, being annoyed with this person who obviously is reporting from a much smaller ship, says, "Hey man, stop panicking. The ship that I am on has been made to go through icy waters. Leave us alone." And he ends his shift that evening, goes to his bedroom, and he never wakes again. Because Jack Phillips was working the radio on the Titanic. And the Titanic sinks as a result of his short-sightedness. His inability to operate outside of emotion and really look at what is happening and what's happening, what I'm being informed of in this moment, what I'm being informed of in this very moment. How does it impact my future in days to come, in hours to come, in minutes to come? I got one more for you, because this is a human phenomenon, right? And often, like a lot of us, we might tell ourselves like, man, I won't operate my life in a way where I will have regret. But I'm going to tell you something, unless you have the remedy, I'm going to talk about the remedy in a moment, but unless you have the remedy, most of us will follow the same path, because when we look at history, when we look at human beings, this is exactly how it goes. So here's the next story. Brooklyn Borum. In the early 90s, she's a woman who warns the banking industry about derivatives. And she goes on to say how investing in derivatives and using it in the real estate market is going to cause a complete economic collapse. She's sounding the horn. And because she's sounding the horn, she quickly is considered an annoyance, right? Right now, somebody's listening saying, man, get to the point. They want to cut it off. This is annoying. Linal, you're annoying. Because we operate in the very present moment. Not saying, man, where is he going? And how can what he's saying right now help me in the future? We operate in the present moment. So you're annoying, Linal. She was annoying. Brooklyn Born was annoying. So annoying that the powers that be figured out ways to relieve her of her position on the board. Well, we all know what happens. 2007, 2008, we enter the Great Recession. Not because there weren't smart people who understood what could happen, but because in the present moment we decided not to listen. See, as human beings, we don't act. We don't normally act with the long view in mind. This is not our nature. And so this is like when it comes to learning about myself and believing, like these are things that I say, okay, well, I'm not going to consider myself the exception. What's the remedy here? Like how do I operate around that? Even as I'm reading Robert Greene's book, I'm saying, I'm not trying to say, oh, I don't do that. I'm like, man, okay, if down through history, person after person, really, he tells a story in the book about Sir Isaac Newton and how he got caught up in a scheme. As practical, people who know about Sir Isaac Newton, right? The man who helped us understand gravity. As practical as he was, as brilliant as he was, we consider him a genius. He got caught up in a scheme in the present moment. Not just once, but twice. And so if brilliant people get caught up in the present moment, they lose their vision. They lose the sight of their goals. They lose sight of the future they're looking to generate. What makes me feel like I'm any different? And see, that's one of the things that as human beings, we have this exceptionalism. Not me. If you knew me better, you wouldn't even need to talk to me about that. But let me tell you something, man. We're all wired pretty much the same. And so, because we don't act with the long view in mind, then conversations about the long view are typically uncomfortable. Conversations about goal setting aren't necessarily popular. And if they're popular, they're only popular certain times of the year, right? December, January. As a matter of fact, 75% of goal setters will quit their goals by February 1st. But guess what else isn't popular? Conversations about purpose. See, conversations about purpose make the average person uncomfortable. Why? Because we don't act with the long view in mind. And to be in a conversation about one's purpose means that you're actually looking at your life holistically. You're thinking about your life holistically. And so how does one create a long view? How does one create a long view that adequately serves them throughout their lives? Last week we talked about Dr. King. And there's a quote by him that says, if a man hasn't discovered something that he will die for, he isn't fit to live. I imagine Dr. King said that because he knew that if you don't know what you would die for, then you're not going to live well in the present moment as you make decisions. You're not going to live well. Thomas Carlyle said, the person without a purpose is like a ship without a rudder. And if it's clear that as human beings, we operate in a short-sighted way, we think about what's happening in the present moment. We react to what's going on around us versus thinking deeply and thoughtfully about how whatever it is impacts our future. Then really, that means that I'm a ship without a rudder. I change directions based on what's happening in the moment, meaning I'm not really going anywhere quickly. I don't have a destination. Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. Viktor Frankl. Billy Sunday said, more men fail through lack of purpose than lack of talent. A well-lived life is a life of purpose. So then let's think about this. Because if purposeful living reduces regret, why don't we pursue a path of purpose? Now, some of us are. Some of us are on a path of purpose. But for those of us that, we find this purpose conversation to be just a bit boring, or just a bit uncomfortable, or just a bit convoluted, then based on what these great men have said, why is it that we don't, despite the challenges it may present, why don't we pursue a path of purpose? Well, I've been thinking about this for a long time. You guys know, when it comes to purpose, this is really part of my purpose on the planet, to help people distinguish and live their purpose. And I've come up with 7 reasons why I believe that many of us, we kind of push past and we decide, I'll think about purpose tomorrow, or purpose is difficult, and right now, what I'm doing right now, that's easier. That seems to work better for me. So I'm just gonna stick with that. So here are the 7 reasons I believe that we don't live a purpose-filled life. Number 1, humans are reactive. See, when it comes to life, we tend to lean on the reactive side versus the proactive side. And when you think about purpose, purpose is proactive, because purpose is, I'm going to distinguish my purpose first and then make decisions aligned with that. That's proactive. That's a proactive way of being. And as human beings, we're reactive. And so a conversation about purpose, well, it doesn't necessarily serve me in this moment, because see, right now in this moment, Linal, what I'm dealing with is I need to find a job and I need to figure out my finances, because I'm reacting to my present circumstance, versus thinking deeply about my life holistically. And if I got completely centered and focused in on purpose, my proactive way of being could keep me from reacting like this in the future. We're reactive. Number 2, humans are short-sighted. I just talked about that, and I gave lots of examples around our short-sightedness. By the way, this is like, I'm not sitting here making this up, okay? This is just a collection of thought, not just from Robert Greene, but from thought leaders down through the ages that I've collected from reading over the years. Because I'm incredibly curious about, why is it that the purpose conversation is not a more popular conversation? I was asking my wife last night, I'm like, help me understand. She's like, Linal, you just think different. I'm like, help me understand, like, when it comes to purpose, why is this not a bigger deal? Why is it that people feel like they can put this thing on the back burner when their very life, the quality of their life, depends on whether or not they not only know their purpose, but they live their purpose? Like, why is it, how can something so critical come off as so optional? Number 3, humans focus on survival rather than long-term clarity. Let's talk about that. You see, survival is marked by fear, control, and the stories that we learned from the experiences of our past. So let's break this down real quick, okay? Because humans, we're focused on survival. And so because we're focused on survival, whenever we're in survival mode, our executive function, our executive abilities, the ability to think from the most intelligent part of our being, that goes away. Right? When you think about the brain is broken down into 4 major parts. I only want to talk about 2, the prefrontal cortex, or the neocortex, and the amygdala. The amygdala is the fight or flight, where when fear seizes it, we operate from that place automatically, right? We react, boom. Or the prefrontal cortex, which houses all of our intelligence, where we make our executive decisions. This is where we do our goal setting and planning and thinking about the future, creating possibility for the future. This is where when I know my purpose and something happens that causes me to become afraid, I actually can say, nope, I'm not going to give the amygdala the control, because I operate my life. I think about my life from a place of purpose. I make my decisions from a deep place of purpose. So I need to slow down. I need to meditate. I need to pray. I need to come into not only my intelligence, but the intelligence of the Creator, so I can figure out what's next. But there are very few people that do that, because most of us, our focus on survival is fear-based, control-based, and it's narrated by all the stories of our past. You ever wonder why people repeat the same things over and over? Because they're in survival. And their way of being and who they are and how they function and how they're moving forward is being scripted by the experiences of their past, not scripted by the goals of the future, by the purpose, by the place that God wants them to operate from, but by the past. Oh, how do I avoid getting my heart broke again? How do I avoid this? They said this about me, so I'm just, all my decisions are based on, man, how can I feel better? How can I feel good? How can I avoid pain? How can I avoid sadness? It's not focused on anything that has a real anchor in life. See, survival, because it's marked by fear, then you have to think that when I'm operating from fear, I'm operating separate from God. Because when we think about fear, the only thing about fear is that the only thing that can conquer fear, is love. God is love. Love is God, which means that when I allow fear to dictate my next move, I'm making the next move completely separate from my Creator. Fear, acting from fear, is separation from the Creator. Let's just think about that for a minute. So then if I'm wired to react and I'm reacting from fear, the moment I react from a place of fear, I am separating my spirit from the essence of God, which means that I'm now operating with no power in my life. Survival. And so then when you think about purpose, the reason I'm such a proponent for purpose is because we all have fear. We all are human. We all have moments where we get separated, right? Our spirit is separated from God and we're shaking in our boots and I don't know what I'm going to do next. But what purpose does, purpose pushes us to reconnect. Because if I know my purpose, I know my path, then what happens is I say, oh, but wait, even though all this is happening around me, no matter that it's happening around me, there's a purpose for why I'm here. And I don't know how to do that, but the Creator knows how to help me. So then I reconnect. I reconnect because purpose pushes me to connect. So fear is separation from God, but when we separate, purpose helps us reconnect. It's the anchor. This is why I refer to purpose as the anchor. When I get scared, I do. And when I'm scared, I'm not coming from a powerful place. I'm coming from a place just like any other human being. A place of fear, a place of disconnection, a place concerned about the present moment only. And when I'm afraid, that's when I know, okay, it's time for me to slow down. Get present to your purpose. Get present to why the Creator put you here. And if the Creator puts you here, He has you here in this moment, in these circumstances for a reason. What direction do you go? Purpose pushes us to connect to God. And I'm going to tell you something. I believe that's one of the reasons many people avoid purpose. Because it goes into number 2 of this conversation about survival, control. Because many of us want to have complete control of our lives. I want control. I want full control, man. I don't want to have to get down on my knees and pray about anything. I know what I want. I know what I want to do. Ooh, look at her. I want that. I'm going to go get that. I want control. I want to be in control. But here's the thing. Remember now, we just clarified and solidified that as a human being, you are short-sighted. As a human being, you are reactive. As a human being, that if you wanna in any way avoid regret, then you might want to give up that control. But number 2 is control. I want to control my life. I want to control others. And I'm doing the best that I can to control my world. And we do this not really understanding that control in the context of the life that we live is nothing more than an illusion. It's an illusion. Right now, somebody's saying, oh, no, bro, you don't know that. I got complete control of my life. Everything's in order. Everything's lined up. I got it figured out. All right. Okay. Let one thing happen you didn't think was going to happen. Everything out of control. Everything is out of control. But again, that's the third reason humans focus on survival. And survival is all about fear, control, and get this, you're operating from stories that are sourced by your fears and childhood trauma. So think about that. You're operating from stories that scared you as a child. And so your navigation point is that of a child as you navigate this world as an adult. The more disconnected you are, the more poor decisions you're going to make. And this is why many of us are just in a cycle. When we come back, how do we disrupt the cycle? How do we begin to live a life that reduces the regret that we'll experience? When we come back, how to avoid regret. You're listening to Inspirational Perspective. I'm your host and life coach, Linal Harris, right here on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. We'll be right back.
The following is made possible by Dad.
All right.
The basketball court.
Well, good morning.
Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
How do we avoid regret, man? Let me tell you, if this is hitting and if this is making sense to you, I'm just going to ask that you share it, because people need to hear this, man. People need to hear it. Stick with me, man. Stick with me throughout the show, too. Because I'm going somewhere. Like, I really been thinking about this topic. And just the way we operate, more importantly as a community, concerns me deeply. And my sense is that it's really about we continually react to the present moment. And how do we begin to shift that? Yeah, I'll talk about the other ones, Leslie. I had to go to break. I was at number 3. You're right. I'm gonna start there, and then I'll share, how we get past this. How do we powerfully avoid regret? But by all means, share it with others, because this needs to reach as many people as possible. How do we avoid regret? Now, somebody out there is probably asking, man, well, then what do I do? Like, how do I begin to live a life of purpose? And you can join me Saturday, February 6th. I'll be teaching the course, Discover and Live Your Life's Purpose, which is a transformational virtual workshop that will connect you to who you truly are, connect you to your purpose, connect you to your greatness and your reason for being, which allows you to make a different type of decision in the future. But more importantly, decisions that don't have you reacting, but have you doing things proactively. Give me 1 second here. I'm trying to fix something. All right. What questions do you have? Please put it in the comments. Let me know what questions you may have. Want to be able to support any questions you all have. I just put the information out there as well for the course, and so check that out. All right. What questions do you have? I'm going to go through here and look real quick.
Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed.
So I will cover the other 4, you all. No worries there. I will cover the other 4.
At unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National.
And
have you been involved in a car or truck
down.
accident? Have you been hurt in a slip and fall? Have you been injured due to acts of omissions of a medical doctor?
And for those of you who've been through the Purpose course, man, just let other people know the impact that course has had on your life. It's one thing for me to say it. It's a completely different thing for those who've been through the course and this has made a difference for you to say it, right? All right. But that's the work. That's the work. Okay, let's get to some of these questions here if I can. I'm trying to sort them here. A lot of comments. I might have to go in here differently. Let's look. I do. Okay, so let me go in here differently. Scroll down. All right, would it be a good idea to have a trigger, aka a question such as, will this help or hurt my future? Here's what I would say to that. I always ask, and so for anyone who's gone through the course, How to Discover and Live Your Life's Purpose, at the end of the course, I always give a surprise, right? I'm giving it away. But the surprise is a decision-making toolkit. And in this kit, there's a video where I talk about how to make decisions aligned with your life's purpose. And so, Pat, to answer your question, one of the things that I do on a personal level is, instead of asking, will this help or hurt my future, right? Because that's kind of in the context of, this is the right way or the wrong way. Or how do I avoid pain? Or how do I, make myself more comfortable? I take the question out of that context, and the context I'm asking is, does it align with my purpose? Because here's the thing. There have been points in my life where pursuing my purpose has been incredibly uncomfortable. And if I were asking a question that was more in terms of, will this help or hurt my future? It looked like it was hurting my future, okay? Hurting myself financially, hurting my future in other ways. But really what was happening is that I was more aligning to God's purpose for my life, where then he stepped in and transformed things in ways I couldn't even begin to imagine. So we're coming back.
You're listening to Inspirational Perspectives
It's a good
with
question.
Linal Harris on 1690, The Talk of Chicago.
about it. Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and purpose. You know it's time for you to walk with greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams. Best right now. Inspirational perspective. Open your mind to a better life. It's time to live the dream. Your purpose now. Inspirational perspective. Let's slay your goals, let your greatness flow with inspirational perspective.
All right, we're back. You're listening to Inspirational Perspective. I'm your host, Linal Harris, your very own life coach, right here on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. The topic today, how to avoid regret. How do we avoid regret? And another way to say it is, how do we avoid regret and live a powerful life? Live a powerful life that in many ways we can look back and be proud of. Well, we've been talking about how purposeful living reduces regret, but the question I posed is, why don't we pursue a path of purpose? Like if purposeful living reduces regret, then why don't we pursue a path of purpose more vehemently? Well, I came up with 7 reasons for that. The first reason I shared at before the top of the hour was, number 1, humans are reactive. Number 2, humans are short-sighted. We spent a great deal of the first hour talking about this. Number 3, humans focus on survival rather than long-term clarity. And then I broke down survival, right? Because survival is marked by fear, control, and the story we tell ourselves about the past, right? And so I began to break down then, if you look at it, fear, if that's a part of survival, and like you think about whenever we're trying to survive, we're coming from a place of fear. And fear is separation from God. And purpose, by its very nature, pushes us to reconnect to God. Because the only way I can live my God-given purpose on the planet is from instruction, from downloads, from the Creator. So in the presence of fear, purpose pushes me to reconnect. The second part is control, right? So many of us, part of our survival is this thing about control. I want to control my life. I'm going to tell you something, man. I battled this notion of control myself in my 30s big time. I wanted control. And so I went from mistake to mistake to mistake, trying to figure out what was wrong until I finally surrendered to God's purpose for my life. Then it was like, oh, okay. And guess what? Now it's like, I'm good on that. I'm good on that level of control. I don't need that. So control breaks down into 3 areas. We want control of our life. Many of us, we won't admit it, but we want control of others around us. Like if I can just control my wife, if I can get her to go and come when I ask her to, if I can get her to, if I could just control my husband, right? It's all control. And we manipulate, we do all the things that we can figure out how to do to control the people around us. And we do that in an effort to control our experience of the world. That was number 3. Number 4 is we're just simply afraid. We're simply afraid. And the thing about fear creates a smokescreen. So 2 things that fear does. Well, actually 3. We discussed 1, it separates us from God. Number 2, it creates a smokescreen that makes the future difficult to see. Now, let's break this down a little bit. Have you ever been really afraid about something in your life? You could have been laid off, lost your job, salary reduced, maybe going through a divorce, and fear begins to grip you. And as that fear grips you, it becomes difficult to see the future. Because fear has this way of putting a smoke screen in our vision over the future. Like I don't, and so our ability to see the future begins to evaporate. I can't see anything clear. My long-term goals, I have no idea how I can reach them. And what happens is we begin to react to what's happening around us, begin into a reactive state. And that pushes us further and further down. And this is what many times they call the, people get into these cycles. Like, man, they're in a downward spiral. And there's actually science around the downward spiral. It's a psychological thing, the downward spiral. Because when one thing goes bad and I begin to expect other things to go bad and I can't necessarily see my future clearly, I can quickly de-escalate into a place that I never thought I would be. That's the power of fear. The last thing is fear freezes, right? So because fear freezes, then often when I'm supposed to be taking action, I'm in inaction, and there are consequences to that typically lead to some level of regret. Number 5, again, we're looking at the reasons, the 7 reasons we don't pursue purposeful living in our lives. Number 5, we are entertained and distracted. See, here's the thing about entertainment. Ancient Rome figured this out. Hey, we can keep the people poor. We can keep the people fairly, living beneath the standard of how human beings should live, as long as we create pockets of entertainment. Let's open up the arena. Let them go watch the gladiators. Let them forget that they're poor for a moment. Let them just, be filled with the exhilaration of the moment, the very moment. And what happened in Rome is on steroids nowadays, because you can pick up the arena. You can carry the arena in many ways right in your back pocket. Pick it up whenever you want to. Many people are going to watch the 21st century gladiators go at it today in the playoffs. And that's what they're looking forward to. That's probably been the highlight of the week. Man, I get to watch these teams, these gladiators square off with one another. They are literally living for that moment. We're too entertained and distracted to live purposely. Number 6, well, purpose is just an awkward conversation. I mean, because when someone says purpose leads to fulfillment and happiness, oh, come on now, it can't be that simple. Well, guess what? Purpose is not simple. It's not simple. If it was simple, we'd all be living lives fully aligned with our purpose. It's not simple. And because it's not simple, as soon as you get into a conversation about purpose, it becomes, in many ways, it's an awkward conversation. My life's purpose. Many of us who know our life's purpose, we don't communicate our life's purpose. Why? Because it makes the conversation awkward. Many of us, we know our life's purpose. We're trying to figure out our life's purpose. We don't ask the questions. Why? Because it feels awkward. And as human beings, we avoid awkward. We avoid anything uncomfortable. Because, and here's the funny part. The conversation is awkward and uncomfortable because all growth happens outside the comfort zone. And purpose ultimately is about growth. And the consequence of purpose is fulfillment and happiness. So you would think more people want to talk about it. But most of us are so enrolled in comfort that we'll forego the discomfort of a conversation about purpose to maximize the comfort of the present moment. Why? Because we're short-sighted. Number 7, we believe that living a life of purpose is hard. And to add to it, this is a story we tell ourselves that makes living outside of our purpose excusable. Because it is hard, right? See, here's the thing. There are many of us that know our purpose. Like many of us, we have a we're clear, like we know, like, okay, my purpose is clearly articulated. I've written it down. I know that this is my purpose. But Linal, when it comes to actually living that out, do you understand the things I would have to change in my life that I don't know how to change in my life? And so every time I get into this conversation, every time I think about my purpose, I get overwhelmed because, man, purposeful living is hard. It's difficult. Well, let me ask you something. Last time I checked, life had its difficulties, and life can be hard. And so if purpose provides for me an opportunity to escape deep, dark regret, it provides for me an opportunity of fulfillment, it provides for me an opportunity of happiness, then I'm willing to forego the hardships. I'm willing to forego the hardships. If purpose provides me peace in the midst of chaos, I'm willing to forego the hardships. Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about goal setting. But I'm going to say this, and I've already shared it. I shared it at the masterclass I taught. I shared it with the Slayer Goals community, and I shared it with those who are going through the current 30-day goal setting challenge. And this is what I share with them. Goal setting is no good, or in many ways, it's futile when you're creating goals outside of your life's purpose. What good is it? Because if I'm supposed to be living my life, if I was created by God, and my being created by God and my connection to God is sourced through me living my purpose, and I'm operating outside my purpose because I have other things I want to do, other things I want to create outside of that purpose, then I'm headed towards a life of regret with very little happiness and fulfillment. And the reason why goal setting outside of your life's purpose is futile is because the number one secret of goal setting, I've covered this before, the number one secret of goal setting is knowing your why. Knowing your why. And so this morning, I got to ask you, like, do you know your why for existing? Do you know your why for breathing? Do you know why you're alive? It's not just because your mother and father had relations. It's not. It's a deeper reason. You are here for a reason. You're here to make an impact. Why are you here? Many of us, our experience of life has become so difficult because we don't know our why. Nietzsche said, he who has a why can bear almost anyhow. That's evident through the words of Viktor Frankl, who was at Auschwitz and in a concentration camp, and even coming out of the concentration camp, left us with the quote that life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. See, we look at these things, we read about these things, we know these stories, but do we really believe them? Your why in life is sourced by your purpose. So then what that means is your purpose is at the very top of the hierarchy in terms of how you live, decisions you make, your why, your vision, all the way down to the goals you set. And here's the problem. When your purpose is unknown, you're operating well outside the boundaries. Many of us are operating well outside the boundaries of where we're supposed to be. And we're wondering why we have difficulty. We're wondering why life is so difficult. We're wondering why things just don't work out. Linal, I took your goal setting course. I've been a Slayer Goals member, but I feel like I've just been spinning my wheels. Do you know your purpose? Are your goals aligned with your purpose? See, we see the greats. We see people who seem to just kind of be moving up, but there's an element, there's an ingredient that they have that I can tell you is rotating around purpose, talents, passions, and strengths that were given to them by God. And even if they're just a little bit off course, they had the sense to know, oh, here's a gift I got. Let me rock with that. Let me follow that. But many of us, we don't even know our gifts. We don't even know our talents. And so we're so far off course. And how you know you're off course is just the many difficulties. I'm not talking about the trials of life that come when you're living purposeful. I'm talking about the trials that come when you're way outside your purpose. You're just off course. And see what happens when you're off course, that means your goals are misaligned. So then now I'm setting goals, but those goals they're misaligned. They're not lined up with who it is I'm supposed to be and my purpose on the planet. And so as a result, I'm not manifesting and creating the way that I should because I'm not in my most powerful centered place. But what happens when I'm living my purpose and I'm creating goals aligned with that purpose? That's when we begin to tap into a new level of greatness. Dr. Jordan Peterson says this is when your biological triggers get turned on. This is when we see people operating at peaks in their performance because everything is turned on inside of them. And how does it get turned on? Because their spirit comes alive, because their spirit is being fueled by the very reason they were put on the planet. It's a beautiful thing when it's operating well. So right now, I'm sure someone's saying is, well, Linal, what if I don't know my purpose? I don't know my purpose. And I'll say to you, you have to make purpose. Knowing your purpose, your number one priority. It has to be. You want to avoid living a life that you regret. You want to avoid making decisions that you regret. Let me tell you something, man. There have been many times when I've been on the wall of decision. I'm filled with emotion. Maybe I'm angry. Maybe I'm disappointed. Maybe I feel like I've been abused and misused. And the way I want to go, the way that my emotions are taking me is to a space that I know won't be productive. But because I know my life's purpose, because I can connect to that, because I can say a prayer and say, okay, help me. I know that I'm up against something right now. The still small voice, the answer I get says, hey, be still. Stay strong. Stay aligned. And because I'm listening to that, because I'm allowing my purpose to be the way I make decisions, I've avoided so many regrets. I can look at it, man, on the verge of making very poor decisions. It's like, no, that would completely disrupt my purpose on the planet. And because I know it would completely disrupt my purpose on the planet, I don't want that kind of regret. I'm not going to do it. And I look back and I'm just thankful. I'm grateful. But I'm going to tell you something. If it weren't for the clarity of my purpose, I would have made the decision. I would have made the mistake. And that's the power of purpose. So if you don't know your purpose, your number one priority has to be getting in alignment. Well, I don't know how to gain clarity on it. Well, stick with me. See, here's the thing. When many of us, we don't even begin to understand ourselves. We have all this potential. We have all these things that we're interested in, and we're constantly ignoring it for the focus of survival. We're constantly pushing it to the side because, well, I just got to figure out how to make ends meet. And they keep percolating back up because they're trying to make us aware that you're not alive to make ends meet. You're alive to fulfilling a purpose. And the beauty of purpose is that purpose doesn't take you to a place of survival. It allows you to thrive. It allows you to thrive. And it's not an overnight thing. It's a process. But again, human beings, we lack patience. I don't want to go through a process. Linal, you know how old I am? You telling me I got to go through a process? Okay, if you're going to live another decade, why not go through the process? See, the number one secret of goal setting, as I call it, is purpose, because when you accomplish a goal, what did you accomplish it for? For what? It always comes down to a why. Even the ability to powerfully set a goal and go after a goal comes down to why does the goal matter? I think it was last week, working with Slay Your Goals members. And one of the things we did in the coaching webinar, people were coming on saying, hey, here's the goal. I asked, well, why? Why does that matter to you? We just dig. And as we dig and people begin to understand why it mattered to them, I mean, they start breaking into tears. They begin to have emotional experiences, because the deeper we get into our why, the more power we generate in our lives. And the emotion is coming because emotion is nothing but energy in motion. It's power. It's a power release. But see, many of us, we don't know our why. We don't know our why for the goals. We don't know our why for life. And because we don't know our why, we don't know our drivers. We don't know the things that intrinsically motivate us. We don't know what really fires us up, because we don't know ourselves. And the reason we don't know ourselves is because we are outside of our purpose. So I want to do something this morning. I want to invite you to get fully connected to your purpose. If you know your purpose this morning, isn't it time that you began living aligned with it? Fully aligned with it, that you put other parts of life on pause and you say, you know what? 2020 taught me some lessons. It's time to fully connect with myself, fully connect with my purpose. Maybe you don't know your purpose. You've heard me say it's your number one priority. You say, okay, Linal, I waited around. Okay, this is what you were waiting for. I want to offer you the opportunity to join me February 6th. If you've done it already, wonderful. Then just invite somebody else. But if you haven't, I want to invite you for an opportunity on February 6th where I teach the virtual course. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. Discover and live your life's purpose. See, this is my purpose on the planet. This is why I'm so passionate about it. And I see that this is just the very beginning of the work that I'm supposed to do. But I want to help you align to your purpose, understand your purpose, distinguish your purpose, align with that purpose, and understand fully how to live that purpose. And so here's what I want to offer you. I want to offer you the online training course on Discover and Live Your Life's Purpose. Normally it goes for $297. In this course, you define your ultimate purpose. I help you distinguish your essence, your spiritual essence and power. You begin to really think about your true possibilities in life and how to live in alignment with your purpose. Comes with a downloadable workbook and audio resources to help you fuel the goal of purpose. It's normally $297. Keep listening. With that, I want to offer you the opportunity to join me virtually. You join me virtually on Zoom, February 6th at 11 a.m. And in that course, we're going to have 6 hours of live group training. Everyone in the group together, live group coaching, where if you don't discover your purpose upon completion, I will refund all of your money back. Because for me, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. The money makes sure you show up, right? You pay, I know you're going to show up. If you don't distinguish your purpose, all your money back. But ultimately, what this course is going to do is going to help you gain a deeper relationship with yourself. See, here's the thing. Many of us, we don't know ourselves. And the reason we don't know ourselves is because we've been so distracted by everything else. I talked about it when we talked about short-sightedness. We're concerned with the latest trends, the latest news, what's happening in the White House. What did Biden do? How many executive orders did he write? Oh, what are they going to do with Trump? Are they going to impeach him? We're concerned with all these things. And we still haven't fully connected to ourselves. Isn't it time you got more intimately connected with yourself? When's the last time you took yourself on a date? Like real date. And you ask yourself the kind of questions people ask on a date. Who are you? What do you do? Why are you alive? What's your life's purpose? With that, you also get a downloadable workbook that you can work through. And you also get the opportunity to completely transform while you're at the workshop. Now, I'm providing all of that on my website right now, linalharris.com, for $247, both of it. That's normally an $800 offer. The online course and the virtual workshop, $247. You can sign up at linalharris.com. And again, you all, this is about purpose. I'm at a point in my journey. I remember when I used to have these kind of conversations. I get really uncomfortable. Oh, I don't want to sell things to people. But I'm at a point in my walk where I know how much money people spend on things that won't give back to them. $247, a pair of Jordans. I mean, $247 can't even buy nowadays a brand bag. You ladies know what I'm talking about. $247 nowadays, I mean, at the most, right? You might be able to get one pair of jeans. You know, I'm not talking Levi's. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And there was a time where I say, oh man, you know, people gonna think a certain kind of way if you do this, but it's about purpose. Somebody out there right now, you're listening. And what I've been talking about has resonated with you. And you know this is your opportunity to change everything. You know this is your opportunity to start brand new. It's January. And what if you could kick off 2021 with clarity? This opportunity is for you. Hey, don't pass it up. My team and I, we just started our marketing efforts. Right now it's $247, 50% off what I would charge as the regular price. And I'm just asking you all, please take advantage of this opportunity. Take advantage of the opportunity because this gives us the ability to operate from a much more powerful place, but more importantly, to live your life outside of regret. Now, again, I said it. Conversations about purpose make the average person uncomfortable. And I'm sure there's some people who are uncomfortable right now. And see, again, the reason for that is because the purpose conversation requires an intimate connection with ourselves. It requires a deep level of self-awareness and self-love. So then you might ask, well, Linal, what is self-love? What is self-love? Self-love is the ability and the knowing and the awareness to understand that because you were created with a purpose, you have value. And because you have value, it is incredibly important that you treat yourself with that value. Many of us, we're sleep starved from a lack of self-love because we don't understand our value. We don't understand the value of being fully rested and living a life of purpose that impacts other people from that place. Many of us are operating in our health in a discapacited, I can't even say the word, in a handicapped way. We're disabled in our health because we don't value ourselves. There's a lack of self-love. And one of the things that purpose does, purpose begins to make us require in ourselves a healthy level of self-value. See, you must have a belief that you have something to offer to others before you offer it. And purpose is all about helping others. I mean, imagine right now if I had no self-value. It would be difficult. It would be difficult to get on the radio. It would be difficult to say there's something to say. It would be difficult to speak with the level of passion and purpose and power that I operate with. But I understand that my value is not just about Linal Harris. My value is in my purpose. My value is in the impact that I can make on other people's lives and how that impact can begin to transform their lives in a way where they begin to live a life they never thought they could live, transforming who they are, how they show up, the care they give themselves, but ultimately the impact that they have on others. See, we've been taught to concern ourselves with matters outside of ourselves. Sports, beauty. I'm not talking about your beauty. I'm talking about the beauty of everything else in the world. These magazines where you flip through and you see pictures of people who are quote unquote beautiful that don't even look like you. Like, why are we concerned with that? Like it's got to be a sickness to be concerned with that. They don't even look like you. How are you concerned with that? Music. Many of us completely given over to music. And we don't realize that it's just another way we operate outside of ourselves. It's filling us with the noise and the beat, and it's keeping us from the ability to fully think and be present to who it is that we are and ask ourselves the one question that matters. And am I in alignment with God's purpose for my life? Social news consumes us. Politics. Oh, politics. Politics. And what happens is we get so outside of ourselves that in the moment when we need to connect, we don't even know how. And I'm going to tell you, man, I've said it before, but I believe that's one of the main reasons so many of us struggle. We struggle with depression. We struggle with mental illness because we're not even living. We're not even living close to the way that we were designed to live. Of course there's sickness. Of course there's mental health issues. Too many of us are operating outside of our purpose, disconnected to the very purpose for life. Tapping into your purpose requires support. I was blessed to have that support in my early 20s. I thank God for it. And this course, this is that support. Again, this is your opportunity. Go to linalharris.com, LINAL Harris.com. It's in the comments as well on Facebook to purchase and attend the course. I want you to think about this, and Tommy, I see you on the line. I'll take some phone calls. We get supported on almost every important endeavor in our lives. Think about it. School, academics, important. They're very important. Sports, they're important. I can remember coming up, self-defense, like all these things, we get supported. There's someone who shows us the way. We get supported on the major things in our lives. You want a house? Well, you get supported. You get support from the bank. You get support from a realtor. You get supported. And this is for anyone who's struggling with their purpose. This is your opportunity for support. This is your opportunity for support. Don't pass it up. LinalHarris.com. Let's go to line one. Tommy, good morning. How are you?
Great. How you doing right now?
I'm good, man.
Hey, man, can you believe I listened to the very first program that you did and been watching your progress and how you evolved? Can you believe that?
I can believe it, man. That's 2013. It's almost 8 years ago, brother.
Yeah, because get a load of this. You know, I was listening to you talk. You know the essence of everything you need is right inside of you.
It is. I believe that.
I mean, the answer. Like, if we walk up to a crossroad, you may go that way, and I may go that way. But at the end of the flow chart, we get back together up the road.
Mm-hmm.
But you're supposed to follow your pathway.
That's right.
Check this out. Listening is so important. I was talking to one of my friends. We were talking, but she was complaining. Hey, all they do is all and argue and complain about their life. But hey, hold it. Let's try a test. I said, why not just listen to the person who needs to be heard? 90 days later, she came back, and guess what? She had grown. First, the person who's got all this problem is they need somebody to listen and to vent. You ain't got to tell them nothing. Pretty soon after they vent, and now they can begin to fix their own problem.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do nothing for them. You can listen.
Yeah.
But the validation that you receive just from listening to them and watching them grow, that's great, man. So this is my challenge to you.
Yes, sir.
You got such a great program and all that in growth. You can teach all that without even opening up your mouth. Try that one out. Using your mind. You got that mental power. You can almost touch me without saying a word. That's power. Appreciate you.
All right, appreciate you too, brother. I'm about to sit on that one. I'm about to sit on that one. Okay, good stuff, man. Appreciate the phone call, Tommy. Appreciate you listening, man. February 23rd will make 8 years that I've been on radio, and a lot of growth. Hey, man, a lot of fear. I remember that week leading up to this, man. A lot of fear. And here's the thing: we're talking about purpose. I wouldn't have been on the radio if it wasn't aligned with my purpose, because it didn't make sense. I was a corporate executive at the time. It just seemed to be a big open risk. And I'm like, but I believe my purpose is to share this work, to share this what I do. And that's what I began to do. And man, has my life transformed as a result of it. The power of purpose. Thanks for that reminder, brother. Next week, we're going to be talking about how you disrupt your future. And man, you want to come back for that one. You want to come back for that. How do we disrupt our future? But in the spirit of what we've been talking about, how to avoid regret, we've distinguished now. So purpose, living our life's purpose is how we avoid regret. And in my work, helping people distinguish their purpose, I've identified 3 different kinds of people. And I want you to just gain clarity on where you are. The first person, they're not aware of their purpose. They're not even aware that they have a purpose. They are not living with purpose. There is no purpose. They hear a conversation like this and something clicks, right? And it's like, wow. 2 things happen. Either they're attracted by it or they're repelled by it. Most of the time, those kind of people turn me off already. Then you have your second person. They know their purpose, but they are not aligned with their purpose. And for this person, purpose is that awkward conversation, because I have an idea, like, my purpose, it aligns. Many people that I work with, and I get emails from people who've gone to the workshop, and they're like, Linal, I can't lie. You helped me distinguish my purpose. You did that. But I'm not living aligned with it. And I'm still having difficulty aligning with my purpose. And that's the second person. And typically, the reason that person is not aligned is because there's some underlying fear that they haven't conquered yet. There's some leap that they're supposed to make that they're just kind of standing on the side and they're hesitating to make the leap because it's a matter of trust. And they have to get to a point where they're willing to trust the Creator more than they trust themselves. right? It's that thing about control. They're trying to control it. And then you have person number 3. They know their purpose, and they're living aligned with their purpose. And when they hear stuff like this, it just fires them up. It gets them going, and they're like, man, be a part of that. Go to that workshop. Many of you who've already gone, you're thinking I saw someone in comments say you need a part 2 of the workshop, Linal. Like, help us who are living our purpose get deeper in the pursuit of that purpose. I'm aligned. How do I more deeply align? Right? This fires them up. Those who are in the number 2 spot, I want to speak to you real quick. As a matter of fact, I got a phone call. I'm going to take the phone call, and then I want to speak to those in the number 2 spot. The number 2 spot, again, is those who know their purpose, but they're not living aligned. Let's go to line 2. Marvin, good morning.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm well.
Yes. I believe I know my purpose and I'm living it. And I want to say I think it's important that we should know our purpose, in particular our young people, because when you know your purpose, you're not going to get involved in drug use, alcohol and drugs, and the self-hatred that we have for ourselves is why we use drugs. And you want to live out your purpose and get to your goals in life. But I think that would really cut down on crime. When you know your purpose of being here, you won't be going out jacking cars, committing crimes, because you would respect yourself and others. You know, so, and I think that's why I like to, get involved in things that, arts and things to encourage our young people to find themselves. You find your purpose by doing what you enjoy doing.
Amen to that. Yep.
And once you find that, then that's what you focus on, is what you're good at, is what you share with people, art, paintings, or performing arts, or whatever it is. And that is something that we all need to explore. Beautiful. And staying out of trouble.
Absolutely. And Marvin, what is your purpose, brother?
Well, my purpose is not just to make money, for myself, but it's to pull others up when I come up.
I love that.
Like the rappers, they want to rap. I'm making all this money, but who you helping?
Yeah, who you helping? Yeah, no doubt.
So it's not just about me. It's about people are going to gravitate what I'm doing. In fact, I'm working on things right now. I'm always excited about it. I'm ready to get it out there. I've been working on all my life, But it's like once you get out there, people are going to gravitate and be able to thrive with it, to compete. We come up on competing, performing arts, dancing on a high level. So Gotcha. I expect to draw a lot of people in for what I'm doing once I get it out there.
Beautiful.
And particularly the kids.
Well, the arts are powerful, brother. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and particularly once I hook these YouTube videos, it's going to blow up. Oh, you're going to hear about it.
Man, hey, well, look, when all that takes place, please reach out to us and let us know that it's happening.
Oh, definitely.
Yep. All right, thanks for the phone call, Marvin.
All right, take care.
All right, line 1, Freddie, good morning.
Good morning, Linal. How you doing?
I'm well, brother. How are you?
That's great topic.
Yeah.
One of the things, purpose, most people are reason they don't accomplish purpose because they've been hurt. They don't love themselves. And that's blocking them from achieving their purpose.
Yeah.
Their childhood, somebody told them they wasn't worth nothing or they wasn't loved. Yeah. And they really stopped them. One of the reasons that I discipline will conquer a lot. If you discipline your behavior and you stay in line with yourself, align with your calling, you will reach those goals. I remember, I was playing basketball at the gym, and I was running up and down the court, and one of the guys saw me in the gym. He said, "Man, it's all you." I said, "I'm over 62. He said, "Man, I saw you run up and down that court. You didn't have no hesitation. You ran." He said, "When I get your age, I want to be just like." I said, "No, I want you to be better than me. I want you to be better than me. Stay healthy and live a long life." And one of my purposes in life that to stay healthy, my family, to be an image, to be a model.
Yeah.
Because everything, just because everybody in your family have high blood pressure, diabetes, that you should too. I disagree with that. That's brainwashing. You know, so if you read, Dr. Sims said, if you eat to live or you eat to die. You know, so if you stay healthy, you accomplish a lot of your goals and your purpose in life. So that's all.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, man. Yeah. Yep. All right. Getting some more phone calls. I'll take them up until the 5 minutes till. I owe this explanation to those who are sitting in number 2. They know their purpose, but they're not living aligned with their purpose. And so I'm going to spend the last 5 minutes explaining that. But until then, Nate, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Linal. How you doing, man?
I'm well.
Yeah, just want to say a long time, man. Always telling Joe, because you're very inspirational. I told you myself. But, my dad as well. He's a long time away and listener. Anyway, I wanted to know if there's a way that I can send you a shirt or something or a hat. I have my own apparel, and I have a trademark on the phrase "worry about yourself." And what you talked about falls in line with exactly what I'm promoting, probably worrying about yourself.
Got you. Yeah.
I just wanted to send you something, man. And, if you want to check out the website, I can give you information on air or off air. It doesn't matter. But everything you talk about falls in line with purpose. Because I coach as well. I coach high school basketball as well.
Okay.
And I found something that I would do for free. And figured out the way to get compensation for it. But it's not about that. It's just that when God puts you in line with favor and faith, it all ends up being your purpose.
Amen.
So,
Yep.
But I want to send you something, man. I really want to send you something. Anything you wanted, just say thank you for
well, you know what?
positive.
Are you driving right now?
Yeah, I am taking my daughter to work.
Okay, so I tell you what,
Yeah.
Go to my website and just go to the contact me page and just fill out the form. Let me know. I got your name here, Nate, that you called in on the radio. You want to send something. And either me or somebody from my team will send you the P.O. Box address. Because I could give you the P.O. Box, but if you're driving, that's going to be tough on you.
Okay, I got my daughter. She's a secretary. She's ready to take the...
Okay, well, here's the P.O. Box. P.O. Box 8182. You send it to Linal Harris, Inspirational Perspective. And it's P.O. Box 8182.
Okay.
Westchester, Illinois. 60154.
60154.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, I got you, man. Like I said, I appreciate it, man. Black business is trying to grow, and think
absolutely.
you're well worthy of it. So, yeah, appreciate you taking the call, man.
And I appreciate you reaching out. Okay. Here's the last call. Miss T, good morning. How are you?
Yes, how you doing?
I'm
Linal
well.
Harris. I'm glad of this segment that I listened to today. I am an older lady, and I've just been wondering what is my purpose. I want to get into training.
Okay.
My gas is off, but I'm going to try and pay for that training. February 6th.
You know what? Send me a note. Do you have my email address?
So I don't.
Okay. Well, send me a note, Linal@inspirationalperspective.com.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know that there are some of us who are struggling financially.
You know what? I just got some new transportation, but it's not my gas. It's my furnace. My furnace is gone. So, yeah, and I'm going to do my best to get into that class.
Okay. All right. And, man, my prayers are with you. And, yeah, send me a note. And if there's anything, maybe there's somebody who's listening right now. Will you handle furnaces and you can help this sister? Then please do. Because that's part of it. When we get these gifts, then we gotta share. We gotta share. And so right now, somebody's listening that can help you with that furnace. And so I'm gonna ask them to call in, and when you email me, I'll connect you.
Okay, good. Thanks so much.
All right. Okay. Man, my heart goes out to her because we've all been there. So her furnace is out. That's likely gonna cost her a lot. And it's the middle of winter, 28 degrees today. So God bless you, sis. And someone you want to be a blessing, man, reach out to me. We can take care of that sister. Okay. I want to go to this last part before we end. 3 different kinds of people in relationship with purpose. Number 1, person who has no purpose. They have a purpose. They don't know the purpose. Number 2, I know my purpose and I'm not aligned. And number 3, I know my purpose and I am aligned. I want to speak to those who fall into the category of number 2. You know your purpose and you're not aligned. This is a critical place because when you know your purpose and you're not aligned with your purpose, what's missing is faith. What's missing is faith. And your ability to believe and take action. To believe and take action is going to be the evidence of your faith. This is how faith works. Faith doesn't just show up and push you to take the action. It has to come from, I believe this is my purpose. And because I believe this is my purpose, when I look through the lens of purpose, I know this is the next action to take. You don't have to know all the actions. You just have to take the action you know how to take. When you take that action, that becomes the very evidence of faith. If this is where you are, strongly consider acting. And if you, like Linal, I want to act, I'm just too scared. Consider that where you are right now, the most critical part is you have to fuel your faith. And the only way to fuel your faith is through inputs. I'm going to challenge you right now. Go to my website, murdermediocrity.com. Download my Talk on Faith. It's free, on purpose, I'm sorry. It's free. Check out my resources across my websites. Start inputting fuel that will fuel your faith. Because on the other side of faith is the opportunity to fully align with your life's purpose. And when you fully align with your life's purpose, that's when you truly step into your power. And that's when you truly begin to realize the true possibilities of your life. If that's you, you know your purpose and you're not aligned, I don't want you to be on your deathbed with the regret that I never lived out my reason for being. Do whatever it takes. Either 1, make sure you're a part of the course on February 6th, or 2, your number 1 priority, you know your purpose, now it's time to fuel your faith. Begin operating in faith. God's got your back. There's nothing else more certain than that. Nothing else. Everything else is temporal. And if you believe that, this is your opportunity. I'm calling you for it. Start operating with faith. Start operating with faith. Fear is the purpose poison, and faith is the only way to reconnect with God and act from a deep place of purpose. All right. You've been listening to Inspirational Perspective. I'm your host, Linal Harris, and life coach, right here on WVON 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. It's been a blessing, man. This here is what I do. This is my reason for being, my reason for living. And I just thank and I thank God for it. And I thank you all for your support. Until next week, have a blessed week and be safe. All right, that's the show. Once again, if this made a difference for you, please
has been
share.
Removed from her former role as the commander of the criminal interdiction.
And hey man, somebody needs this morning. Somebody needs it. I know they do. And so, man, have a wonderful Sunday, you all. Appreciate you. And until next week, how to disrupt your future. You do not want to miss that show. All right, until then, God bless you.